Welcome to The Blitz, a podcast from Dale Church. The Blitz is all about tackling tough topics head-on at full speed. Are you ready?
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of the day it is that you happen to be checking out this podcast. My name is John, lead pastor at Dale Church, and I'll be your host, as always, on The Blitz. All right, guys. Well, welcome to this special series of Pride Month Blitz podcast. For all of June, I'm going to be addressing pride and LGBTQ ideology issues. And if you're wondering what those issues are going to be and why we're doing this, go back and listen to the episode titled Pride Primer. It'll explain why we do this and where we're going. So go ahead and check that out if you haven't checked it out. But today we're going to be talking about the insanity of the LGBTQ ideology. Okay, the insanity of the LGBTQ ideology. What I mean by insanity, okay? The LGBTQ ideology is a worldview, an ideology that collapses upon itself on its own terms, okay? Meaning it's an ideology that is in conflict with itself. It does not work. It's not cohesive. It is excluding. It's self-excluding, okay? So let me explain to you why that is the case. In Romans chapter 1, Paul is explaining basically how we got here. What is sin, right? Not just what are sinful actions, but how do we get to sin? And what he says is that essentially that we suppress the truth of God. So every person has an awareness of the existence of God and the general attributes of God. It is written on our souls because we are all made in God's image. We all live in a world that is constantly proclaiming to us the glory of God, the skies, the heavens, nature. Everything is telling us there is this massive, awesome, wonderful God who made this world, who made you. And Romans tells us that the information around us is so overwhelming, it is so compelling that we are actually responsible to respond rightly to that. So there is no instance in which someone doesn't know that a God exists, right? It's plain, Paul says. It is clear to them because God has made it clear to us. So everybody knows the truth of God. It is written upon our conscience. The problem is that we suppress the truth. Paul says. It's not that we don't have access to the truth. It's not that we don't know what the truth is, that the truth is kind of hiding somewhere under a rock and we just haven't found it. No, we know the truth and we willfully and actively suppress the truth. Okay, so you have to push down in your conscience, in your mind, in your heart, what you actually know to be true. That there is a God that created the universe, there's a God that created people, male and female, in his image, and that he has designed us to live in a particular way. That truth, right, is suppressed in unrighteousness, right? We don't like God. We don't love God. We don't want to submit to God. And so we suppress the truth. But here is the thing. Not only do we suppress the truth, but we also replace the truth. Paul talks about exchanging glory, okay? So whenever we suppress the truth about God, right, we don't end up with no truth. We don't end up with a vacuum. We don't end up with neutrality. We end up with a rival truth. We end up with a rival God. That's why there is true religion and idolatry. There's nothing in between. There is the truth of God and a lie. So what we do in our sin is we suppress the truth of God and we exchange it for a lie, right? We suppress the truth, we exchange it for a lie, and then we live within the framework of that fabricated lie about who God is and the way the world works, okay? Now, here is the problem. Because God is, and because God made the world in a particular way, the world only works in a particular way, right? So you can suppress the truth, you can exchange the truth for a lie, But when you try and work in that world, when you try to work in that worldview or within that framework, right, sooner or later, it's going to collapse because the world only works a particular way. So think of it this way, right? Let's say that you're driving your car and your car is out of gas and you say, aha, I have found a cheaper product than gas to put in my car. I have found water, and I can actually get jugs of water free everywhere. And so you decide that you are going to run your car on a much more efficient in terms, more affordable, and also it's less toxic, right? There's water everywhere. It's great for everybody. You're going to put water in your tank, okay? So you are free to do that. You're free to put the water in the tank. You're free to believe that your car can run on water, okay? But the reality is that it's not going to work, right? You may have gas with a little bit of water mixed in it that will run for a while, but sooner or later, the water is going to get to the engine. And here's the reality. Here's the truth. The engine is designed to run on gas. So you're free to believe whatever you want, and you can suppress the truth all you want. But the reality is that the engine will only run on gas, okay? That's the way the world is. The world works a particular way. And when we suppress the truth about God, right, what we do is we increasingly distance ourselves from the way that the world is and from the way that the world works. And sooner or later, right, the water hits the engine. Sooner or later, those ideas start to destroy. They start to fall apart. They start to, they bring in chaos and they bring in destruction. Sooner or later, you're going to realize it does not work. It can't work because God created the world to work a certain way. Okay. So what I'm proposing, what I'm suggesting is that the ideology of the LGBTQ movement and revolution is an ideology that falls apart under its own weight. Meaning, I don't have to find a truth outside of the ideology and then compare it to that truth. I can just look at the ideology itself and say, this doesn't work. It falls apart on its own terms. It falls apart on its own terms because it is a lie and it is an ideology built on a lie, okay? The LGBTQ ideology is water in the gas tank. So let me give you two examples of this, and I know that there are many more, but I'm going to give you two examples, okay? Last year, I believe it was last year, this would be the summer of 2023, there were a number of students at a local high school who got in trouble, and I think it caught local, if not national media attention. They got in trouble for wearing a shirt that said there are only two genders, okay? Realize that, for years and years and years and hundreds and thousands of years, that was an uncontested truth, right? You said there are only two genders, but yeah, and water's wet. What's the big deal? Everybody knows this. But because of the LGBTQ ideology and the way that has gotten into almost every sphere of life, these students who wore this shirt to a school that, let's be honest, that 10 years ago, right, in a textbook would have said there's male and female. They would have completely held this position because it's self-evident. It is true. Okay. So these kids wear this shirt to the high school and they get in trouble, and they were kind of sequestered and quarantined. And I actually saw a video at a school board meeting of a teacher harassing these kids for wearing this shirt. And this shirt was considered hate speech to say that there are only two genders. All right. And so the LGBTQ ideology, the whole group is saying, no, there are many, many genders. There are, male and female and pansexual and transsexual and asexual and all this stuff. And there's literally an endless number of gender identities that someone can claim for themselves. So the LGBTQ ideology and community hates the idea fundamentally rejects the idea that there are only two genders. They affirm, they would suggest that there are an endless number of genders, okay? So this is self-evident. You don't need to go researching for this. You already know this because you've heard the stuff and you've heard all the different gender ideologies or identities that people have. Okay, here's the thing, okay? L means lesbian. G means gay, referring to homosexual men. B represents bisexual, okay? Bisexual. The B and the LGBTQ ideology affirms a gender binary. That B is built on the assumption that there are two genders, a male and a female. And a bisexual person is an individual who likes both male and female genders. Do you see the problem? You can't have a B in the LGBTQ ideology that is consistent with the rest of the ideology. The ideology is actually exclusive to the B, and the B is actually exclusive to the rest of the ideology. You can only be bisexual if there is a gender binary. It doesn't work. It falls apart. It deconstructs, right? It crumbles on its own terms because it's an ideology that rejects the truth and is built on a lie, and lies crumble. Okay? So B, you can't have a binary, a bisexual, if you have infinite numbers of gender identities. Okay? Another example is this. I went to a couple school board meetings in the fall of 2023. What an interesting experience that was. And so I was speaking to the board about LGBTQ ideology and whatnot. And one of the things you kept hearing is, again, this deconstructing of the binary, this deconstructing of male and female, and really like an anti-male sentiment, if you will. And so this is pervasive in all the public schools, right? In the Central Kitsap School District. Not every teacher is on board. Thank God there are great, faithful, strong teachers who are holding the line, holding their ground, that are refusing to buy into this insanity and this nonsense. But at the administrative level and the board level, they are absolutely into this, okay? And so you've got a district that has bought into the non-binary, that has bought into all of the gender ideology, all of the, all of the letters and all the stuff. Okay. So I'm at a local basketball game, and the boys basketball play. And then after that, there's a girls basketball game. I'm presuming there's a girls basketball game. And I believe this was Central Kitsap High School. And excuse me, all of the girls on the team are wearing shirts that say the future is female, right? And maybe you've seen one of those shirts. The future is female, and I so badly wanted to speak up. I wanted to say something. I wanted to actually go to another board meeting, which maybe we'll do that. I wanted to say, how can you say the future is female and exclude all the other gender ideologies? How do you know the future is not male? How can you exclude males? How can you exclude all of the other gender ideologies? Why is the future not gender fluid? Why is the future not asexual? Why is the future not pansexual? Why is the future not LGBTQIA plus whatever, but the future is female? How can you possibly say that? That is, and understand this, okay? Again, we're playing the game on their own rules. That is an exclusive statement that doesn't include all of the other gender identities. It excludes all other gender identities, and it simply focuses on female. The future is female, okay? That is exclusive. It doesn't work in the diverse equity, inclusive nonsense, okay? But here is the other thing. What is a female? What's a female? Can anybody answer that question? Does the LGBTQ ideology give us some sort of concrete, rational definition, understandable definition for what a female even is? What is a female? Is a dude that goes under hormone treatment and has his parts chopped off, is that a female? What is a female? Do you see the problem? And I don't have to like go to some scientific test or to go to some academic document to critique this ideology. This ideology falls apart on itself. It is exclusive of itself. It crumbles. And the reason it crumbles is because it is a lie. And all worldviews and ideologies that are built upon lies crumble under their own weight. Right? The LGBTQ ideology is insane, meaning it's not cohesive. It doesn't work together. The parts don't fit together. It is crazy, right? And it will eventually fall apart. It does crumble under its own weight, right? And so as Christians, we need to think through these things and be thinking about these things. Here is a world view, right? The parts don't even fit with each other. There is no integrity in it. There's no cohesiveness to it. It is an insane ideology. All right, just a reminder that if you want to submit questions, you can do so at pastor@corumdalechurch.org, and I will be responding to those questions at the end of the month. Hope this was helpful to you, and we will see you next time on The Blitz.